Welcome to the Footy Philosophy Podcast. I am hosting today, Brendan Powers, here with my man Kev. As the only way that would actually make this right if he was actually wearing a Barcelona jersey, as I rep the Arsenal jersey today. His biggest arch rival, other than Ohio State, probably, as Kev actually represents my squad. So it was a huge change in the only to put it simple, I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't really like Arsenal. I respected Arsenal when Wenger was there, and it's just my boy Mesut Ozil. Just got
Yeah,
to represent my favorite player of all time. I got a Fenerbahce jersey with Ozil. I got a German national team with Ozil. I don't really have a Fenerbahce, but that would be sick. Actually, I should probably try to think about getting one of those. But Kev, it's been about a couple days since we talked.
yeah.
Football, that is. So, how you doing today? Beyond just football, how you doing, Kev?
Well, we're doing good. I was honestly like kind of sleepy before I hopped on, and then the Arsenal thing just gave me a shock, man. Holy
Wake up
shit.
call. Wake
Yeah.
up call.
But no, we're doing good for a Monday, as per usual. How are you?
You know, busy, but it's not the worst thing in the world. It's 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is usually when we do these. So we're both very busy people right now, and hopefully our lives slow down soon so we can do these at normal times. But getting into the thick of it, it was actually a pretty boring weekend for all leagues. There was maybe two or three interesting games. Probably we won't go into much detail, but we'll start where the interest lies, and it was the UCL draw. So we have Man City, Real Madrid, and Arsenal Bayern on one side of the bracket. So the top four teams, I'm going to put that in quotes, top four teams, or at least the top four favorites, all end up on one side of the bracket. And Atletico Madrid get Dortmund, and Barcelona get PSG. And I guess you could say one got three got four. Um, and
For sure.
you could make an argument that five got six or five got six and seven got eight. And so we're gonna see one of the five to eights in the final. Definitely one through four on one side, and then definitely five through eight on the other. Um, but Kev, what were your thoughts from the draw?
Well, I am excited for a few of the games. I'm excited for Arsenal Bayern. Can Arsenal finally take the step and, really play with the big dogs? We haven't seen them have to do it yet, and so we'll see it there. Last podcast I mentioned I'd like to see Arsenal Madrid. This is kind of in the same vein. Um, yeah, I think that'll be a really fascinating tie, as Bayern are starting to play much, much better. Obviously, City Madrid is the fireworks show.
It's the final before the final.
Yeah, sadly. And so, that's kind of the overall feeling for me is a bit bittersweet because we're getting good games, but we know
I'm
that.
taking off. I'm taking off for both days. I don't care about my monetary problems. I'm taking off. You got to watch these games.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And yeah, I think it should be PSG and Atleti on the other side, kind of battling it out. In the semis, that is, when they get there. But Barca could surprise people, and then if Barca, beats PSG, they do have Atleti's number, which we'll talk about later on. So things could get interesting, and the El Clasico final is still on. Um, if anything, it's kind of likely. Well, not likely, but
What very possible.
yeah,
Let's just put it that way. If bounces go the right way, and I'm gonna start on the other side of the bracket before I get into the interesting ties, so to speak. Atletico Dortmund should be pretty straightforward, but Atletico loves to keep things interesting, so I'm sure it won't be straightforward. But I do see Atletico going through in that tie. But you know, this is Cholo. The one thing I will say is Cholo has always been a great knockout competition coach. We've seen it throughout his career. And for me, they are the favorites on that side. Um, I don't know how you feel about that, but even if they get Barcelona, I still think over two legs, Cholo has never beat Xavi, but you think for the UCL they're gonna make a point to, like they kind of rolled over this weekend. My dog's gonna freak out in 5 seconds because Axe is freaking out. So if you hear my dog barking, just be prepared. Um, it's okay, buddy. He was asleep. His ears are all top. I think he's here. He just hears Axe
Okay.
going. Uh, Um, yeah. Did you hear that growl? Was that a little ASMR into the mic?
Yeah.
But that being said, on that side of the bracket, Atletico and Dortmund are going to be really interesting. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be better than it's getting put for. And Dortmund are actually in getting into better form too, which, it seems all these teams are trending up right now, which is great for the competition. Um, PSG Barca, for me, that one's kind of 50-50. I don't know how you feel about it. But you kind of have to give the edge to PSG just because of Kylian Mbappe, who scored a hat trick on the weekend, by the way.
Yeah.
Um, and but this new and Pedri won't be back, which is going to hurt them. Gavi's out. So they're going to run a midfield of Gundogan, Christensen, and Fermin Lopez, which shouldn't be a final eight UCL midfield, but here we are. And Frankie De Jong might be back. That's a question mark. Pedri's for sure out for the first leg, from my understanding. So the midfield battle there is going to be really interesting. But also, something that if Lewandowski gets his scoring boots on, man, it could be. You could have Mbappe and Lewandowski going back and forth, and if we were to go pound for pound with those two teams, um, with the injuries, especially in PSG's back line, I think pound for pound, the Barca team, like we did a combined 11, I think it might be six Barca players and five PSG players. Um, but at the end of the day, those things don't really matter, and it just if Ter Stegen stands on his head, it's gonna be good night Jim Kite. You know what I mean? Like, which he is very capable of doing. And yeah, so for me, that one's 50-50. I do like Barca to go through just because I think they're a better team than PSG. Um, as we see, they this weekend and the past couple weekends, um, they find themselves in second place already in La Liga. Remember, a La Liga that was done and dusted a long time ago, according to their fans. They're 8 points back, and there's still a Clasico to play. And, Real Madrid's form hasn't been great recently, but it's picked up over the past two games, scoring 8 goals over the past two games. But the point being just that Barcelona has been slowly but surely creeping into good form. And, they kind of did it with not really convincing wins. Like, a lot of them are like 1-0s, and you're like, man, Barca got away with that one. But then when they go and smoke Atletico 3-0, you're kind of like, all right, man, maybe this team's for real.
Yeah, for sure.
And Luis Enrique is going to have his hands full, I think, because the PSG team also has looked better recently. They didn't really look great in the first half of the season, but they've really turned it on in the second half. Before I go to the other side of the bracket, anything you want to add to anything I said? Because I know it was a lot.
No, the only thing I was gonna say is I was actually gonna text you and it's like, are we finally doing League One this week because of Mbappe's hat trick? But obviously not. Um,
We already mentioned it. That's all that needed to happen.
yeah, yeah. But no, I agree. The PSG Barca ties 50-50, and then Atletico Dortmund 65-35.
That's exactly what I was going to say, maybe 70-30.
Yeah.
But it depends on the Atletico that shows up. But, something that should be said about the 3-0 to Barca is just the fact that Griezmann didn't start. So they benched their best player for one of the biggest games of the year because they were tired from the Inter game. Which we'll get to when we get into the weeds of it. Then moving to the other side of the bracket, I'll save the Man City Real Madrid one for last. Bayern Arsenal, I think, is more straightforward than the Barca PSG one. I think Bayern's going to have Arsenal's number, um, because I think Bayern's going to just punch them right in the mouth, and they're not going to expect it. I think this is probably the worst possible draw Arsenal could have gotten. Um, it's a team that is going to feel comfortable with the ball, which is not what Arsenal wants. Because Arsenal's going to want to control the ball, and I think they're going to kind of go maybe punch for punch. But the one thing that uh, Bayern have that Arsenal don't is a lethal striker. I think Harry Kane's going to be the difference maker in that one, and I think Bayern finally make it to the semifinals in 3 years. I think they've been knocked out in the quarterfinals the last 3 years. Um, so they'll finally make it to the semifinals since they won. I think they haven't gotten past the quarterfinals since they won. Some unlucky draws, but also some bad defeats like Villarreal. And then to the Man City Real Madrid one. For me, this one's probably 55-45 in Man City's favor. I don't know, you might feel differently about that. Just because I don't really like the form that Real Madrid's in right now, but there's a couple things that play a big part. Since the draw, Real Madrid have 2 games to play before they play Man City, now one, and Man City had 5 and now have 4 games to play before they play Real Madrid. So they're going to be go, 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 and Real Madrid are going to be relaxing, resting at home. The Copa del Rey final is the weekend before, so they cancel all La Liga games. So, like, we come back from international break, we play Athletic Club, and then I think we get a week off, or maybe it's international break ends and then the Copa del Rey and then we play Athletic Club and then we play Barca. Either way, it doesn't really matter because um, it just doesn't matter because so the problem here is do you want the rhythm or do you want the rest?
Yeah,
So that's going to be the difference maker in that one. Because Real Madrid will be rested up, but will they have rhythm? And then City will have the rhythm, but they won't be rested up. We could potentially see something like we saw during the Remontada year where Real Madrid won in 21-22, I think was the year. Um, After COVID, everything just my whole years are way off. Um, where Real Madrid just kind of relax for a little while and then they wait till City's actually tired and then they decide to go. But you don't have a lethal strike like Karim Benzema up top who you can rely on to put away 3 chances when you're down by 2. I think the way to play Man City is to actually want the ball. I think when you look at the statistics in the numbers and the analysis and the analytics. The teams that have actually fared best against Man City have wanted the ball. The teams that don't want the ball tend to struggle against them. They tend to blow teams out, which is actually kind of the opposite of what it's been over past years. You know, like when you look at Prime Barca and when you look at like Atletico, who almost knocked them out a couple years ago, and when you look at Real Madrid when they did knock them out, they didn't want the ball. They gave City the ball and they were just very compact defensively. It's kind of a little different now. Now, if you attack City, don't are one of those teams that like they don't feel comfortable when they don't have the ball. Like they're very uncomfortable without the ball. So that's kind of the way you need to play them now. That's we saw it when Liverpool outplayed them the other day, like brutally. Um,
yeah. I mean, Spurs scored 3 past them. Um, and
and
we had,
Chelsea played well too against them.
yeah,
But
we had, I
Chelsea
mean,
didn't want the ball though. Chelsea played a
yeah,
counter. So you can play them both ways, but it seems they tend to struggle when they don't have the ball. Um, So that's the play there. And also something to be said. So Real Madrid got fucked in 3 ways. This is what the Madrid fans have been saying. We got fucked because we got City. We got fucked because of the side of the bracket we're on, and we got fucked because the second leg's at the Etihad. Um, so you got fucked 3 ways to Sunday. But there's one positive here. Atletico and Real Madrid play at home on the same exact day. You think the city of Madrid and the Madrid police are going to like dealing with that? Probably not. So there's rumors that the Real Madrid game might get switched and they might get the second leg at the Bernabeu.
oh shoot, that'd be
That
pretty
would be a
crazy.
huge difference. Yeah, it's happened multiple times before in the past. Um, and that's what happens when you have 2 teams in the same city that go deep in competition. In a big city, if Man United was in, the same thing could potentially happen. Um, so that's also one interesting fact. And just a fact here, which I sent this to you, but I don't know if you saw it. Danny Carvajal, one of the acting captains of Real Madrid right now, um, came out and said that this is what the team wanted. The team wanted Man City.
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
it's naive. Maybe it's naive. Maybe it's crazy, but that's who the team wanted.
we will see. I as a sitting Madrid fan here, I do think I think Madrid definitely have a shot at this. I've seen a lot of people say that City will win pretty comfortably, namely Nicky. But um,
The kid who doesn't even watch the sport
yeah.
is saying, yeah.
But no, I agree with you. I think if Madrid find a way to, not win on possession, but make it closer to 50-50, they're going to be creating plenty of chances. City have looked pretty shaky, which we've highlighted
Hmm.
many times in defense. And, they Pep doesn't really know who his center back pairing is right now, or his back three, whatever you want to call it. Um,
And Ruben Diaz does not look comfortable in the high line recently, which
yeah,
is also concerning. And, a new tactical innovation. Vinny has been, we've seen some of his goals recently, especially where he's been cutting in to go 1v1 with center backs instead. That's going to be an interesting tactical battle um between Pep and Carlo is, when Vinny tucks in, what's Kyle Walker going to do? Do you, especially when they go to that back three, that's going to be really interesting because if Kyle Walker follows, that's going to open up a lot of space for the left back, or Kamavinga, who's probably going to play in the LCM role. You kind of think. So it's going to be an interesting tactical battle. Madrid's tactics have changed a lot this year. Throughout the year, I would say we've used three different formations this year, all with different tactical setups. While Cities is pretty straightforward and has been for about 2 years now.
yeah,
It's kind of the same setup. So we'll see. Uh, Real Madrid tend to not get innovative in these kind of games, kind of just let the boys rock. While Pep tends to get innovative in these type of games. Um, what do you expect to see from Pep? Do you expect to see the four, which has he's used this year? Do you expect to see pretty much what he used in the UCL of having John Stones step into midfield?
it's going to be interesting. If he feels that he can get sort of a foothold in the game and by pushing Stones up into the midfield, that is, and assert dominance. Like I'm talking 65-35, 70-30 in terms of possession. I think he will. Um, because like we mentioned, Madrid don't have Benzema this time. I think Madrid's best attacks come from not like a dominant spell of possession, but when you're getting Jude to crash the box, which doesn't
In
necessarily,
transition too.
yeah, uh, but it's more of a controlled transition. I don't know how to explain that.
I
Um,
agree. It's like a numerical superiority transition, which is why he might move Stones into midfield to try and get that numerical advantage, especially because he might not need because there's no number nine there. He might not necessarily need the four back there because it's going to probably be Vinicius and Rodrigo.
yeah, uh, it'll be interesting. It's sort of hard to tell too. I just think it comes down to Rudiger versus Holland for me once again. Um, if Rudiger's locking him down, I know Foden's been in good form, but I don't think you want to be relying on Phil and the UCL last eight against Real Madrid. Not yet, not yet. He's not there yet.
Well, and something also to say is that like on the Real Madrid side, Militao is now officially back. Thibaut Courtois is now officially back. I don't think you start Courtois. Um, with Militao, it's not really sure what you're gonna get. I probably wouldn't start him, but I don't think I'd start Nacho either. I think I'd probably start Chouameni back there, which Chouameni not being at the six was the reason a lot of us Madrid fans believed we lost the tie last time. So, um, it's going to be an interesting tactical setup that we can see, and it's going to cause a lot of headaches for Madrid fans and Carlo, who needs to, who probably has 12 or 13 players for 11 spots, and he needs to make a lot of tough decisions. Um, Nacho has proven himself in a lot of big games in the Champions League throughout his career, even when he was in bad form. So do you trust that? But, with someone like Erling Haaland or in and around the box, it makes it interesting. Also, Kevin De Bruyne just keeps going in and out of injuries. So, like, who knows if he's healthy? Doku and Julian Alvarez have both played on the left recently, and neither have really looked good over the past couple months. And we're not saying like a small sample size. This is a quite large sample size of them being very inconsistent on the left. And even more so, Foden has been great, but again, is that who you want to rely on? And Erling Haaland has been inconsistent. But like I said, on the Madrid side, you do have Vinicius catching form, but Rodrigo is probably in the worst form of his career scoring wise. Jude's goal scoring has taken a massive dip, and the team's essentially been put on the back by Brahim Diaz and Vinicius Jr., and Brahim's not going to start, most likely. Because unless Jude goes off injured, Brahim's not going to start, and Jude's suspended until the City match in La Liga, so that's not happening. And also, uh, Vinicius is suspended too. And also, one last thing, actually, two more things. Um, all of Chouameni, Camavinga, Jude, and Vinicius are one yellow card away from suspension. So if any four of them gets a yellow card in leg one, they are suspended for leg two. That is um fucking stupid. And then beyond that, the Danny Carvajal quote, just, this is who they wanted. They wanted City. They wanted revenge. Seeing they were quite happy with it. And, as an outsider looking in, like as a Madrid fan, like I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't too happy. I had no problem drawing the best teams. I just wanted to be fully healthy before we played Man City. I wanted Militao back. Lunen's fine, but I really wanted Militao back. I really wanted Vinicius, Rodrigo to potentially get some goals in them before we played them. Um, and that's not going to happen. And so I think we're not going in our best form, which is why I wasn't happy with the draw. But we're at the business end of the season. This team has showed up at this time before. This is where this team shows up. We've seen it for the past decade where this club won 5 of the last 10 Champions Leagues. So it's definitely going to be an interesting tie. It could go down as an all timer. I mean, these City Real Madrid ties over the past couple of years have been um, kind of punch for punch for a couple seasons now. I mean,
Yeah,
even when Zidane was coach, it was punch for punch, and Carlo and Pep both kind of have each other's number. I mean, when you look historically, Carlo has worked Pep and Pep has worked Carlo. So, these guys are two of the greatest managers of all time going at it and tactically and, do you it's the tactical genius versus the power of friendship. You know what I mean? Like it's good
yeah,
vibes FC versus robot FC. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna be an interesting one.
for sure. Well, talking about the two greatest managers of all time battling it out, let's move to Jurgen Klopp versus Eric Ten Hag. Um,
The two goats. Two
yeah,
goats for sure.
the
I
two
did watch this game.
the two true goats. And I did not get to watch the game. I had it on the TV and I just kept seeing scenes. I just kept seeing absolute carnage. So United beat Liverpool 4-3 in the last 8 of the FA Cup. Um, and probably one of the best games of 23-24. Um, top 5 for sure.
Yeah. It was a good game.
I'll just give you the floor. I didn't get to watch this game in its entirety whatsoever, unfortunately.
I actually was watching this game with a United fan, so um the first half I'd probably say for the first 25, 30 minutes, United were the better team and they got one. And then City absolutely dominated the ball for the next pretty much 60 minutes. And it took like one lapse of United, and it seems this has kind of been the problem for United all season, where they have one lapse of judgment and then it just all crumbles down, and then they just can't refocus. And they concede twice in like 3 minutes, and you're like, yeah, like all they had to do was go into halftime 1-1. Um, but I don't think Ten Hag got it right. I just think kind of the power of Old Trafford kind of pushed them on more than
That's what
anything.
that's what I
Um,
felt. Even though I didn't get to watch the game, it felt like one of those moments where the
yeah,
fans got
and
them through.
yeah, and like, it's why having good fans is like so important. And there were times when one pass and they were literally cut through. Um, and we had a double pivot of Kobe Mano and Scott McTominay, and Kobe Mano is not a six in my opinion. He's probably an eight, like a defensive eight, a workhorse eight. I think he's off ball movement's really good. I think he's a good dribbler. I think he's press resistant. I think he's going to be a class player, but I don't think he's a six. Then you pair him with Scott McTominay, who kind of lacks positional awareness, and it was a recipe for disaster in midfield, especially with Bruno in front of him, who also lacks positional awareness. And, they got cut through so easily so many times. And actually, I thought the attack momentum's heavily in Liverpool's favor throughout the entire 90, and I'm saying to 90, um, except for like the first 25 minutes. And when United started making changes, like when they made their subs and Klopp pulls off Salah and Dominic Slosa, United started pressing and they were pressing well, and also taking off Hoyland and putting Garnacho on the left completely changed the game. Um, they were constantly looking for Garnacho, and Garnacho was constantly taking people on, and he had great energy. He was taking people on. I would actually love to see the advanced analytics on his dribbling as a winger, especially a left winger. I want to see him specifically on the left wing, not the right. Um, because I mean, just a class player, someone who SofaScore gave him a 6.8, but that's fucking disrespectful. He had a fantastic game. For me, he was the best player for Manchester United, other than maybe Kobe Mayano. Um, I'm trying to see if I can find some dribbles. It says he only attempted two dribbles and was successful zero times. That's not true. He kept taking people on constantly. And that's why you can't take these apps too seriously, these grading apps, because not everything is as cut and dry as they make it out to be. But Garnacho kept running at people, and he was the difference maker. And Rashford actually had like two chances before the game ended, like right at the end from their pressure, and he just botched them both. The one was way too casual, and I literally stood up on my feet. So I'm like, that's a goal. Like he's slotting that in, and then he didn't. And I'm like, oh my god, you fucking bum. I'm like, dude, you are so bad. Like they call you Rashford, and honestly, that's not doing justice about how of a footballer you are. The fact that this dude starts over Garnacho on the left is fucking mind blowing to me. Mind blowing, mind blowing to me. Um, Garnacho is one of the only literal bright spots in this United side, and you just keep moving him to a position he's not nearly as good at for a player who doesn't wanna press, doesn't wanna track back, doesn't give anything for the badge. He's essentially taken the badge and the shirt for granted, and honestly, like, I don't like Manchester United, so, like, my opinion doesn't mean shit, but if I was a United fan, I'd be like, "This dude does not deserve to wear our shirt at all." Like, he's a fucking, like, he constantly disrespects the shirt, in my opinion. Um, that being said, he does actually get the tying goal, but it was literally his like fourth chance right in front of goal that he should have slotted home. It took him four chances. And this is a guy who last year scored like 24 goals in all comps and like dipped way down this year. And it's are we really surprised that it dipped down? I know I'm not, because to me he doesn't seem like someone who works hard, but um on the Liverpool side, Liverpool were really poor. Like throughout the whole game, just making bad decisions. Their shooting was off. They didn't really create many chances. As you see, the expected threat was in Liverpool's favor, but the expected goals were in Man United's favor. And Man United were very comfortable playing them on the counter in transition, and that's kind of where they undid them. Uh, Liverpool actually scored first in extra time, which I thought was crazy because United kind of dominating extra time. It's kind of funny how these things kind of happen like that. Um, wait? Oh no! Oh God, I forgot. And Anthony scores the second goal, which is crazy. His first goal in like over a year.
Yeah.
And it was actually a really nice goal. I was really surprised. I literally kept saying, I was like, it had to be him, right? Like it had to be him. That's like figures. And Ten Hag put him on, and even in extra time, it was really interesting because Ten Hag, they went down one in extra time, and Ten Hag took off all of his defenders, but I think Diego Dallo and Victor or Harry Maguire, like, I don't remember who the fuck was on. He only had two defenders on. Anthony was playing left back at one point. It was Harry Maguire was in the back. It was Harry Maguire essentially by himself from the looks of it, and Diego Dallo. Dallo, yeah, I was right. Um, and then Anthony was essentially playing right back, and Ahmed Diallo. I don't know what was going on there, to be honest. It was really interesting. And I thought it was really interesting that Klopp took off two of his pen takers when they were only up 2-1 in Salah and Slaughter.
Yeah. No, that is strange. I think Salah's not 100% yet. I'm not sure about Sozablai, or however you say his fucking name. I haven't kept up with Liverpool too much. I think he's not 100% either, from what I remember.
Yeah, but like, then I don't know. It's just weird to me. Like if you're up 3-1, I get it, but like if you're up 2-1, it's rough, man. And like it's your
Oh
last year
yeah,
too. Like Salah didn't want to be taken off.
it's definitely shades of the Inzaghi subs with Inter and Atleti. Um, yeah, Amad Diallo, who FM legend, scores the winner, and he gets sent off, but it's just the scenes, the magnitude of the game. There's never been a bigger
Yeah,
moment in his career yet. Um, he's still
he
quite
might
young.
never have a bigger moment in his career.
Yeah. Um, well, he was actually loved by Sunderland when he was out on loan there. Like, um, not that that has anything to do with it, but yeah, he's still quite young, and he could be an answer on the right for them. I still think he's more of a left winger.
Aren't they all? Aren't all these kids?
Yeah, we continue to see stacked left wings all over the place, and then right wing. It's a really tricky situation to find, especially when even a guy like Nico Williams, who you think of as a right winger, he goes to the left, looks a bit better.
He's way better, like
Yeah.
significantly better. Yeah, it's
So,
pretty incredible.
but yeah, for that winner, it was absolute scenes. I did see that on the TV as I was scrambling around. So, congrats to
Yeah,
Man United.
yeah, good for them. Good for them, seriously. I mean,
They do draw Coventry City now.
yeah,
Who got the win over Wolves 3-2. 90 plus 7 and 90 plus 10 to see them through. Even though they probably didn't even, deserve.
Haji Wright, bro. Haji Wright, American legend.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh gosh, he was fucking terrible during the World Cup. Um, he scored that one really fluky goal. I don't know if you remember.
I
Anyways,
try to black that out.
Coventry.
Anything involving Greg Berhalter, I black out in my mind.
I hope we're still doing this come the next World Cup, and we just get
I
to.
hope he's I hope he's dead. To be quite honest, I hope he's just gone.
Yeah.
The fact
Um,
they fired him and then rehired him is just sickening and just
yeah. Coventry did, on paper at least, deserve to beat Wolves. The XG was 4.5 to 2.2 in Coventry's favor. And this is just a massive moment for them to reach the semifinal. They haven't been in the top flight in over 20 years. They dropped out in 2000. 2001 that season. So I wasn't even born, and yeah, awesome for them. And then the next two games, pretty boring, straightforward rather. Man City 2-0 Newcastle and Chelsea 4-2 Leicester. Um, I did see Sterling absolutely sky a free kick when it was still level, 2-2 in like the 80th when
Yeah.
they didn't have Cole Palmer take it for whatever reason. Anyways, do you have any
Well, and
comments on?
Chelsea were up 2-0, and then they sold it for 2-2, and then Leicester got it red, and then they took it late. So it was a lot interesting. I actually turned it on when I saw like in the 81st minute, so I saw the last two goals, and the fourth goal was by Medwick. It was pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie.
He's a good player. Um,
A very good player. I
from
don't know
the
if he's Chelsea level, but he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, he's from the Spurs Academy. He hates us. Um,
Hmm, interesting.
yeah, definitely
Do you want
interesting.
to move on to EPL as Klopp's quadruple dreams are finished now?
Sure thing. Sure thing.
So Burnley beat Brentford 2-1. Red card in the first 10 minutes for Brentford and a pen given. The XG's clearly in Burnley's favor. Fofana's good form stays up. Do you have any thoughts on this one?
Um, no, other than it was my boy Regulon who got sent off, or maybe your boy too. I don't know if
I
you've.
love Sergio Reguilon.
Yeah,
I love him, bro. Dude, what a down, like, what a terrible turn of events in his career, bro. Dude went from fighting Luis Suarez to playing for Brentford.
yeah. I don't know. I don't know. He's.
I think it's a confidence thing, bro. It has to be because he's so talented.
It could be. It
It's
could
a
be.
confidence thing for all these guys, though. You know what I mean? Like every single professional, it's a confidence thing. Like every single person that we can break down, whether they're good or not, it's a confidence thing because the talent is always there to make it to that level.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think he could be a bit more technical going forward with his dribbling, but that's just nitpicky. Um, Talking about confidence, though, David Datro Fofana, 6 starts, 8 games total played, 4 goals and assists since his move to on loan to Burnley in January. I want to see him play in a Chelsea shirt next year. Obviously, things can be different based on
Mhm.
potential Osimhen or whoever, but this is a guy that I think is pretty good, and he's getting some playing time in the Prem. He'll have some experience. Just one worth keeping our eyes on, and that's sort
Yeah.
of the main takeaway.
Well, talking about he's a striker, right? I'm pretty sure he's a forward for sure. He's a striker, right?
Yeah,
I was talking about another Chelsea striker, Broha. Where's he? God, where'd he go on loan? Bournemouth? No. Where'd he go on
Fulham,
loan? God, why do I forget already? I literally
he's
had it on the tip of my tongue.
Fulham.
Wherever he went on loan, he needed to play Fulham. Thank you, God. He needed to play 10 games in the Prem. He didn't. So Fulham now owes Chelsea $4 million or pounds. So that's pretty interesting. Do you have anything to add to that? That interesting statistic. Remember when it happened? We were like, "This is stupid. Like, why
Yeah,
would you ever agree to that?" And then
yeah,
Chelsea made out like bandits.
it's crazy. But no, the only other point is that this is connected to the next game we'll talk about. It's actually an
Yeah, yeah,
important
yeah.
game in the lower
It is
exit.
very important.
If Forest,
Forest get a draw,
yeah,
and they get the point reduction. So
yeah,
the point reduction comes through today. So they are now in the relegation zone, pushing Luton into safety for now.
and
And
now,
Burnley's big 3 points, they play a massive role here,
yeah, for sure, it's the relegation battle all of a sudden heats up. Um, and
even more
we
than it already did.
for sure, for sure. Now there's 2 spots, I would say, as opposed to one. Now we're looking at 18th and 19th as opposed to just 18th. And, it's sad for Forest because we know that City are violating FFP constantly. But
Yeah.
setting that aside, um, Forest, in their perspective, blow a crucial 3 points to Luton as Luton scored in the 89th to save the draw. Luton's home form has kind of been slowly falling off, but it's going to get real interesting. And I think that that sort of culture that they've built, if you want to call it that, at home is going to push them through. But Forest have it too. It's interesting. Um, and then just like another little player highlight, Morgan Gibbs White needs to be playing for a better club, even
Class.
if
He's
it's
class.
just yeah, even if it's just for depth. I think he's great as a shadow striker type of 10. Um, kind of shades of Dele Alli, in my opinion. Prime Dele Alli, that
Ooh.
is.
Ooh. I mean, and something to just say is that the Forest team, they got some very interesting players on that team that could be playing for other teams and, and doing well, at least for depth purposes. And um they got some talent there, so it's kind of interesting to see them in the position that they're in with the amount of talent they have within that squad.
For sure. For sure. They got rid of Cooper, and I think they're still rocking with Nuno, which is not the greatest signing um, at all. I don't
Probably
know.
probably why they suck.
Yeah, I don't know why you would hire the guy based off of what he did at Spurs and then Saudi. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. I'm pretty sure I'm not tripping.
I haven't heard that Nuno left, but they have Cho there, they have Alanga there, they got Chris Wood, they got Origi, um, they got Matt Turner, who's a solid keeper. They got Gio Reyna there now. They do have the Greek goalkeeper who's really good too. And this is a team that should not be fighting relegation and now find themselves in relegation battle even more than they did before.
Yeah.
Moving on to your boys though.
Fuck.
Spurs get absolutely smacked 3-0 by Fulham. Anthony Robinson did play a fantastic ball. I'm a huge hater of his. Um, yeah, what I'm just gonna give you the floor for this one.
Yeah, so I was with you during this match. Didn't get to see a whole lot, but like as we were talking about it, I was like, Fulham's gonna score first, man. Fulham's gonna score first. I don't care that it's an old Willie and all of that, and they do. They
An old
exploit.
William, because I made a point to say Fulham sucks. They have an old William.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a hater.
They exploited the space that Tottenham leaves on the wings. Follow us on Twitter. I tweeted this out. It's just reminiscent of how teams kind of found out how to beat Pep City before his move to the 3-2-5 in possession, when it was the 2-3-5 in possession. Um, that's putting things in very general terms, but you get the idea. The fullbacks tuck in and you leave two center backs, and then there's just huge, huge channels here. And Fulham knew that that's what they had to do. Robinson played good down the left. Willian played good down the right. And Rodrigo Muniz, who's been in good form, finished 2 goals. And um, yeah. And what do I have written down here? 7 goals and an assist in 10 starts. When you take
Very
into account
impressive.
his sub appearances, it's 17 games total, which still 7 goals and an assist isn't bad at all. This is a Brazilian forward who's 22. Keep your eyes peeled.
Papa Flo is looking out for him.
Who?
Papa Flo, another Brazilian, just got his
Yeah,
eyes on him.
yeah,
Endrick who?
for sure. He's a bit more of a physical 9, which Fulham like, obviously. Thinking back to fucking what's his face, the Serbian
Mitrovic.
Mitrovic. There you go. Thank you. Um, yeah, I'm
You
not.
help me out, I help you out. It's cool.
Yes,
I couldn't remember where Broha was playing, so but I remember Mitrovic. Like it makes sense.
yeah. I'm not ringing the alarm bells here. I do think that Fulham aren't really a bad team at all. They've come away with some big results this season. Um, Antonio Silva is a good coach, a really good coach, and a lot of the Spurs players just seemed like they didn't want it. You felt like this a lot during Conte. This is the first time this season that I've seen this where they just come out and they go through the motions. Yeah, we didn't have Van de Ven for this game. Dragusin looked okay in his first start as a Spurs player, but I also I think Postecoglou is getting used to the end game management of Premier League football still. With his substitutions, subbing out your entire midfield in the 66th minute might have been something he could have gotten away with um, at Celtic, but not in the Premier League. I don't think. If you feel like the midfield is why you're losing, I'm just not a fan of taking them all out. I don't know. I don't know if you would agree with me about that, but you're throwing in a
Depends
mid,
on the score.
and it's sort of like a hockey move, right? Where you're replacing an entire line all at once. Um, but we were already down 3-0 at that point, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I think that was the point, it's something that it's kind of what Ten Hag did, at the weekend too, where he switched out essentially his entire back line. And something interesting here, and this is the really shitty part for Spurs, is that if they could have picked up those 3 points, they could have went even on points with Villa in fourth, and then with a game in hand. So, um,
Yeah.
definitely makes the title or the top four race really interesting. And the Premier League is still fighting to potentially get that fifth spot for the Champions League, with the two extra spots going to the leagues with the highest coefficient. And also, another interesting point here is Chelsea have 2 games in hand right now. And if they win both those games, that would actually put them in seventh place.
Oh wow. How many points behind fifth? Provided fifth.
Decent amount, but
Yeah.
like 8 points, but still, it would put them into Europe. So, for you Chelsea fans, it's something to look forward to potentially. Um,
Yeah. And I mean, I know that we talked about this last week, but as a Spurs fan, we're a big six club, but we've always been the sixth out of that group. Heading into this season, we've seen the narrative shift between Spurs and some of the players that we've had, treating Sar like how he is now, like a very, very elite. Just give me some liberty with that word, but
I'm giving you liberty. Yeah,
yeah, as an elite,
he's a very good player.
Premier League midfielder heading into this season, we would have never thought about it that way. Destiny Udogie, we knew that he was bright, but we would have never considered him a very
One of
good.
the best left backs in the league.
Yes. And then same with Richarlison. Last year we were fucking out on him, and now he
He
scored a good
looks
amount of goals.
decent. Yeah, he's contributing to the squad.
Pedro Porro, we were like, no way this guy can ever play in a back four. He's a out and out wing back. And I'm just saying, for us to be fighting for Champions League, and it's a good time for me to get defensive, I guess. But for us to be fighting for Champions League, I think it's a step in the right direction, and especially when you take into consideration Postecoglou wasn't brought in to win right away. It's not like, oh, you've got to win a league. No, never. So if you put it in the context of Arteta and Klopp and their projects, they didn't start competing for the title for like 4 to 5 years after they got there, each respectively. So yeah, that's just my little pitch to just put everything in perspective.
And in non-footballing terms, I do want to talk about Ange's little rant during the presser. Honestly, good for him, man. Like, someone needs to put these fucking English fucks in their place. I don't know if you saw the rant, and for those who don't know what I'm talking about, the rant was them talking about how Tottenham Hotspur Stadium is filled with tourists. And he said, "What's the wrong with tourists? I would have killed to watch a Premier League game. I'm a tourist. I would have killed to come from Australia to watch this game." And it's do we accept football as a world game, or do you want to keep it just as an English game and a Spanish game, an Italian game? Stop telling people to support their locals. Stop telling. The only reason Spurs is so big is because of those tourists. The only reason Real Madrid is so big is because of those tourists. You think if they only had the fans in their country, you think football would even they would even be making this kind of money? You think that their players would be getting paid this kind of money? No. So good on Ange. I'm
Yeah,
proud
and
of
I
Ange
mean,
for that one. And
those
it's why I like Ange, because he's real like that.
he is real and he's so well spoken, too, because someone else could have made that rant and it would have come off a bit, immature, but he kind of put them in their place. And to your point, indirectly, those journalists wouldn't be getting paid very well if it weren't for the tourists. You know what I mean? Like that journalist job is a very lucrative job that a lot of us would kill to have.
Ask stupid fucking questions too,
Yeah,
and be disrespectful to managers constantly. And the thing is,
it's
is
just
it had to be Ange. It
exactly.
had to, it had to be Ange because it couldn't have been Klopp because he's from Germany. It couldn't have been Pep because it couldn't have been anyone from the top five leagues. It had to be someone from outside Europe. So it had to be him, and
Yeah,
good for him,
no, for sure. Thank
or
you.
of someone from a non-footballing nation, so to speak.
Right, which it really doesn't happen too often. I can't think of like any non-European managers.
Well, or like there's going to be like Argentinians and Brazilians,
Yeah,
but those guys kind of get a pass because football is synonymous with those countries. Um, I mean, Jesse Marsh was someone that came to mind but that was unfortunate how that one turned out, but it's not important. Just, moving on, just the last game. Via West Ham tie 1-1. West Ham outplay them. Via struggle in front of the net. Watkins' form seems like it's starting to die down. Two goals ruled out for West Ham. Do you have any other thoughts on this game?
um, well, the thing is that West Ham kind of do Spurs a favor. I know Villa get the point, but uh, Villa are really looking not so good. No, both of those goals that got ruled out were handballs. Really, really close calls. But if there's one thing that we have consistency on, it's the handballs. Uh, Unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on this game other than West Ham have just been really weird all season.
Yeah,
You know,
agreed.
they could have easily beat Villa. Villa are lucky to get the win or the draw. That's about it.
Yeah, well, we can move on to La Liga.
Yes, sir. Where our boys, I'm just kidding, um, get the win against Osasuna. A tough Osasuna. I mentioned it to you. I was like, that's a tough one away from home. 4-2. Vinicius gets the brace. What are your thoughts and feelings here?
Well, they actually made it quite easy for us, to be honest. They decided to play a higher line, kind of like a mid block, and Vinicius just took advantage of that. Fede Valverde grabs a hat trick of assists as well. Probably the man of the match if Vinicius didn't grab a brace. And it was kind of an interesting setup because they didn't have to do it that way. And Madrid that's two games in a row where they score a lot of goals, and Vinicius looks like, you know, some of the better form that he's had in a while, or at least the best form he's had this season. Not much to add here, though. Real Madrid keep ticking at the top of La Liga, and the sooner they finish the league, the better.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Girona continue to drop points away from home. Getafe get the win 1-0. Girona are in third. And do you think that they're going to bottle the UCL spots?
Dude, with their away form, they could, man. They've lost their last three away matches, but they've won their last two home matches. But that's 6 points from an available 15. They continue to drop points in away, as their away form. The thing about winning leagues is you can't drop points to people below you. You can drop points to the people around you, though. Um,
Yeah.
you gotta beat the bottom tier sides, and that's not what they're doing. Hetafe is in 10th place. You can't drop points to them. And they did. Bottom line. Uh, just it's been a brutal go for them. This was a team that was on pace for like 95 points. Um, I don't even know if they'll get 80.
Yeah. I
They're
mean,
18 points away from 80, and with 9 to go.
They got to get two
So I mean
points.
that's 6 wins plus a draw. I don't think they get 6 wins plus a draw. At this point right now, they're going to be lucky to stay in a UCL spot, especially with Atletico Madrid dropping to fifth.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, you kind of always expected them to drop off. I don't know about
Mhm.
this badly. Um,
Well, they were way overperforming their advanced analytics,
yeah,
and so you kind of expected them to kind of return to the mean,
for
especially
sure.
XG. They had like 5 guys overperforming their XG. That's not normal.
Yeah, especially on a team
It's
like
not normal for one player to overperform their XG. Now you got 5. Jesus.
yeah. Um, so I guess it was fun while it lasted. Kind of depressing, maybe.
It was fun while it lasted, and they're really fun to watch. And um, yeah, I mean they're really fun to watch. It was a good run for them.
Yeah. Um, well, Athletic Club are on a bit of a run right now as they beat Alaves 2-0. Um, any thoughts on this one? I guess there wasn't a whole lot here. Seems pretty straightforward.
No, just it was pretty straightforward for them at home. You expect them to win. Um, they've they've only lost one match in their last five. They're 16, 8, and 5 on the year, so only 5 losses. I mean, this is a proper top four side for Athletic Club. 16, 8, and 5. I mean, they need to be in Europe every year. It's better for football. It's better for La Liga. They're the third most historic club in La Liga, and I love them in the depths of my soul. I'm low key Basque. My favorite part of Spain. I love that club,
Yeah,
and it's nice. And Nico Williams hasn't. I'm not even sure if he played, but he did get suspended not too long ago. This might have been his first game back, or maybe the Las Palmas game was. But he was suspended not so long ago. And yeah, so this is a team that is kind of clicking on all cylinders, but also getting the job done that they need to.
for
So,
sure, for sure. I mean, you talk about not dropping points to the teams below you. They just handle business here against Alaves. Um, Celta
and they have
Vigo.
Real Madrid next. So
Oh,
at
there
the
you go.
Bernabeu,
There you go.
yeah. So that's going to be a good one for sure. And
That,
they have
that'll
the
be
Copa del
exciting.
Rey final coming up on April 6th as well. So, a lot of big things which would at least guarantee a European spot for them. So,
Yeah. Is that guarantee Europa?
yes, I believe so.
Nice. That could
They change
definitely,
the rules every once in a while, and it makes it confusing.
yeah. No, I mean they could definitely make a run next year in Europa.
Well, they
Um,
have the depth now too. Like they have the proper depth finally.
yeah. Um, Celta Vigo come back against Sevilla to win oh, 2-1 away from home after sacking Rafa Benitez.
Rafa, bum
Who I
ass
get,
fat dude,
yeah, who is one of the better managers of our time, but definitely kind of
punched above his weight at multiple clubs,
yeah,
but kind of he's kind of got lost in the past. Like he didn't innovate enough, so he kind of got um, pushed aside. But coached amazing Valencia teams that made UCL finals, won a UCL final with Liverpool. I mean, this is a guy that is actually he's from Real Madrid's academy. That's where he got his coaching credentials from, and um, but I hate this dude. So he tried to tell Luka Modric to stop kicking the ball with the outside of his foot. Imagine telling Luka Modric what to do.
yeah. No,
Fat piece of shit.
that's a bit ridiculous. Um, I see that
It's
Enesri.
iconic now, dude.
Yeah, no, for sure. I see that Enesri might have gotten himself into a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, he got pulled off when they were up 1-0, so it's kind of weird that he got taken off. But Kike Sanchez Flores, he kind of starts having a little hissy fit on the sideline, and they had to be separated because they were literally about to fight each other. So, as you can see, things are going very well at Sevilla right now.
Yeah.
They're
Um,
actually going better than they were before, though.
how are
So,
they? They're not going to get relegated, right?
no, I don't think so. I think who's in relegation right now is going to get relegated.
Yeah, it would take a bit of a collapse. Um, Moving on, Villarreal went at home in a tough one where they win 1-0 against Valencia. This is always going to be a good game. Um,
Yeah.
you know, two of the permanent second tier in La Liga, I would consider,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
just based
Near
off.
the they're from the same area too as Spain. Like they're very close to each other. So it's kind of a derby, but not really.
Yeah. Villarreal win on XG, and Valencia are likely unlucky to get. This is
I might have worded some stuff wrong. It's a long day.
it's okay. It has been a long day. Point is, Villarreal win on XG. They win the actual game. Um, Other than one massive chance for Valencia, it looks like they weren't creating a whole lot. What did you think?
I was supposed to say one, not WON. It's supposed to say
Okay,
ONE. Like
that's what threw me off.
Valencia were unlucky to get one. Um, I didn't really get to watch this game. I'm pretty sure it happened on Sunday, and I was watching the United game. Um, Villarreal win, pretty deserving, but Hugo Doro did miss a massive chance. But other than that, they were just all really small XG moments. Um, and Hugo Doro's, who's been in great form for Valencia, it tightens up a potential European spot, especially as Real Betis drop points as well.
Yeah, that's crazy. This is actually a huge one for Europe. Both of these teams are sitting eighth and ninth. I did not realize that. I thought Villarreal were still a bit further down the table. Um,
They were, but since Marcelino took over, they've been essentially unstoppable.
Makes sense. Well,
He's a great manager, man.
he
Huge
is.
fan of his.
He is. Talking about Real Betis, Real Vallecano beat them 2-0. Uh, Betis' inconsistent form continues, but they're away from home, so it's understandable. Um, yeah,
12 draws for them. 10, 12, and 7 for Real Betis.
I would have to say that's a very disappointing season for them. I'm not a huge La Liga guy, but
I tend to agree, but they've sold a lot of players to try and make some money, like to kind of keep their club afloat, financially speaking, including Luis Enrique, who they sent back to Botafogo for the biggest transfer in Brazilian history in January. And, they've tried to replace with cheaper options. They've tried to get younger. They brought in Chimi Alaba, who was suspended for this game after the card last week. Um, and it just wasn't a pretty one for them, to be honest. And Rayo are very tough at home. Um, Isco came off the bench. Abde came off the bench. When you look at the 11, it's not bad, but it doesn't give you confidence.
for
So
sure. And now they've got Girona up next, so it's another tough one for them. It looks like the more important thing here is that Nabil Fekir could have been racially abused during this game. You say
yeah,
apparently. Um,
yeah. I say apparently because I haven't seen much information on it. But apparently someone was like making a monkey gesture at him, like like this. Um, it's just he's Algerian.
yeah,
Um, from I was about to say from Algeria. So it's North African. But it's just why can't we just live in a world where ELE, everybody love everybody. Like
yeah,
I get that it's sport, but like there's certain things that are bigger than sport, and like I'm just so tired of it. And it even got to the point, since we're talking about racial abuse, that Vinicius brought something up to the ref in the last game, and he didn't do anything about it. And so Real Madrid officially filed a complaint. It's kind of the first time Real Madrid have actually done something officially um, to defend Vinicius. I'm assuming they figured eventually the league would finally do something about it, but or the RFEF or somebody, but no one ever did. So I think the league finally, um, I think the league didn't step up, so Real Madrid finally stepped up. And that article dropped from the Athletic that Vinicius is very unhappy with how Real Madrid has handled this and that he's actually thought about leaving the club because of it.
I
So
mean,
that's not what the club wants. So I think they probably feel they needed to say something now, which is kind of
yeah,
shitty that it got to that point.
exactly.
But but something I will say, and Real Madrid's my club, so like I gotta defend them, but Real Madrid try to stay out of as many controversies as possible and keep their mouth shut. Um, they don't say anything about gay people. Like they're not pro, they're not against it. They just stay out of it. They usually stay out of pretty much any sort of political thing that they can because they want to keep the politics separated from the sport because they don't want to alienate their fan base. That's kind of their goal. I know, but they should have done a better job defending Vinicius, but throughout this whole thing, and there's a lot of people that haven't been a lot of Real Madrid fans who haven't been happy about it, including myself. But I also do understand their viewpoint. If their viewpoint is we don't want to be involved because that's not like it's just not what they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I understand the sort of the urge to want to be apolitical, but to some extent,
He's your star boy, bro.
yeah, some things do become political if you even want to call them that, even though this is just more about
Political.
humanity. Um,
Yeah.
and good for Vinicius for standing up for himself in that way. And it is sad to say that he would have to threaten to leave in order for Madrid to do something, but again, good for him. He's like, this is bigger than the club.
Well, and every time he goes and plays in England, he always gets treated so well, like by opposition players, by the fans, and everything like that. Like, because we constantly play English clubs in EPL, or in the UCL. So yeah,
Yeah,
but I don't even know if there's a UCL club worthy of his talents anyway, or an EPL club worthy of his talents.
we will leave
Like
that for
City,
another.
he would just be a robot. You know what I mean? So it'd have to be Liverpool at that sense. But ew, I would never want to see him wearing a Liverpool kit. So then I guess you think like, okay, maybe Man United, but they're not good enough for his services. So
Yeah, right now I would say the only other big club that he could go to is Bayern. But even then, um, yeah, he should stay.
he's not going to get racially abused there at least.
Yeah.
So. Which also we should actually talk about this point as well, since we're talking about racial abuse. Um, Juan Jesus of Napoli was called a Negro by Acerbi
Oh shoot.
on Inter Milan. Yeah, and he brought it up to the ref, but he said it after the game. They talked it out, and he said it's no big deal. And that he just said it after because of like he said he like not he said it because, but he said it. Um, he was like flustered and he didn't mean it, and he knows him personally, and they're actually friends. And he said he's a good guy, so like he's like I know him personally, he's a good guy. Like he said it was just like an in the moment kind of thing. So they squashed the beef immediately afterwards, and not okay to call him that, but good on him to squash it immediately after the game.
Yeah. No,
Um,
for sure. Um. Well, talking about something a bit more positive. If you're a
yeah,
Barcelona fan,
let's
that is.
yeah.
Um. They get to win 3-0 over Atletico, who you would think with Barcelona's, sort of Modge Podge midfield right now wouldn't have gone this way, but as we mentioned sort of at the opening, Xavi is undefeated against
Yeah,
Atletico. Um,
yeah, never lost.
so yeah, did you see any of this game? What'd you make?
I watched it. Obviously, it made me sick to my stomach because fucking Atletico always just open up their ass cheeks for Barcelona every single time they play. It feels like while they give us fucking hell. But the two styles kind of fit. Or Barcelona style fits to beat Atletico, so there's that. This helps Barcelona get into second place and push us. As Atletico drop out of the UCL spots, Molina sees a red card as his poor form continues. Barcelona definitely the better side. João Felix scores a goal and then kisses the Barcelona badge. The fucking nerve of this goddamn kid. Um, Atletico really didn't even create any good chances. The best chance was a .21 xG by Saul, which you don't expect them to hit. But you do after seeing the starting lineup, you kind of didn't feel Atletico had a chance. Griezmann doesn't start. It seems that Simeone kind of knew his guys were tired from the Inter match, playing 120, going to pens, and rotated where he felt he could.
And
That's all I gotta say.
it's a rare one where Pablo Barrios starts and Atleti don't get the win.
Yeah, well, I guess we should change it to Pablo Barrios and Griezmann.
Yeah, that would
But
make
it
it.
is their first loss at home this year, so
Wow.
yeah. Uh, are you good on this one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Moving on. Just we're gonna quick hits this Bundesliga and the Serie A. Boring weekend in both. Mainz take down Bochum at home to maybe push out of the relegation zone, but Bochum still have a 6 point lead with 10 games left to play. Mainz will be in the playoff though. Um, Augsburg beats Wolfsburg 3-1 as Wolfsburg see a red card and they went up quick in the ninth, but after halftime you can see three. Mönchengladbach, Heidenheim tie 1-1. Union Berlin keep their good form as Brendan Aronson, the American, gets the winner to go up 2-0, and then Werner Bremen grab one back. Bayern smacked Darmstadt 5-2, getting right into form right before the UCL bout with Arsenal. Stuttgart take care of business, winning against Hoffenheim 3-0. Leverkusen keep the streak alive as they win 3-2 against Freiburg away from home. They dominate in all facets of the game. They're clicking on all cylinders. It's just a class team right now. And it's kind of not really the best form they've been in, but they keep getting W's. And Dortmund beat Frankfurt as they get ready for their UCL game against Atletico. They went down 1-0, but came back, and they seem to be getting into decent form. Anything to add on the Bundesliga?
Um, no, not necessarily. I was just gonna say I am a fan of Aronson. Um,
Oh, I like Brendan Aronson a lot too.
he was good. He was good in the Prem, even with Leeds. Obviously they get relegated, so he goes to look for some football elsewhere. But yeah, I think he'll be a good player for the
Somewhere.
U.S. and
Yeah.
somewhere else one day. He's still so
Yeah.
young.
Yeah, he is. A lot, and his little brother's good too, Paxton.
Yeah.
Now on to Serie A. Lazio finally get a win after Maurizio Sarri steps down, but it was close as they only won 3-2 away from home against Frosinone. And Juventus drop points at home to Genoa as Vlahovic sees a double yellow card in injury time. Juve dominate the ball, the XG, but they can't get one. Milan pick up all 3 points away from home against Verona. Roma get the win against Sassuolo as Pellegrini gets the game-winning goal, and Inter draw with Napoli as they got to be pretty disappointed with the draw, or the way that the game went against Atleti. So I'm not really surprised they dropped points here. Both teams um, fielded strong squads. We have one of the best teams in the world in Inter, and I believe most Italian sides are just fighting for their league now. We do have Roma and Milan still in Europa, though. Um, Inter really essentially played their strongest lineup. At some point we got to see the young kids play like Asllani. And Atalanta and Fiorentina game was postponed due to the illness of general manager Giuseppe Baron of Fiorentina. So, anything you want to add to the Serie A? I know we kind of talked about one of the major points with the racism.
Yeah, no, I would like to see Inter field some of their younger kids. They've got quite a few good ones. You mentioned one. Um, I would like to see Carboni play a bit
Mhm.
more. He's kind of a do-it-all guy right now, still waiting to really mold himself. Um, Google doesn't even have him listed. Um,
Wow.
Maybe he's out on loan right now. I don't know. But the one thing I will say is that Roma, we had our doubts, but right now De Rossi is
I'm a
kind of,
clown.
huh?
I said I'm a clown.
Yeah. They're only 3 points off Bologna in fourth right now.
Yeah. They're clicking,
Um,
man.
they really are. I would say that it's gone on for a bit too long for it to be
A
um,
manager bounce.
exactly. Um, they lose to Brighton 1-0, but that was already done and dusted. Who gives a
Oh,
fuck?
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um,
So,
and just host serious stuff. Just going back to our first conversation, about the draw. We're never going to see a draw again. They changed it so now a computer does it. So, this is officially the last draw we're going to see, and it kind of sucks that we're getting rid of it. But also, I kind of want to say that it's stupid that we see the semifinal. Who's going to play in the semifinal? Like, it's kind of stupid. Like, I'd rather feel the potential of, okay, if we get City, we could maybe get Barca, or we could maybe see a Clasico. You know what I mean? Like, I
yeah,
don't
what
know.
what is the
I
reason?
just don't like it. I don't know why they did it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't like it.
It is strange. You would definitely think that there would be a redraw or just another draw. Um, there used to be a draw for the semis,
There
right?
used to be a draw. Yeah, it's a new thing. It's a fairly new thing, and now there's going to be no draws except for fucking first draw.
Yeah,
And it's really stupid because now they're seeded out, and in the new format, they're seeded out, and it takes away the excitement, and it just seems like they're trying to get the best teams to the end. It's really shitty. Not a fan. Not a fan.
yeah. Well, they're just trying their hardest to make teams care about that group or the league form,
Well,
the
and they're
league
trying to,
phase.
and they want to get the best teams to the end, and they know this is the best way to get the best teams to the end. A random draw isn't the best teams at the end.
Yeah, it's sad because that's one of the main reasons that.
That's what makes UCL great, man.
Yeah,
It's luck of the draw.
and then it's not like the UCL has produced any fluke winners. Like, I'm trying to think of any.
Chelsea.
Obviously teams have made their runs like Ajax and Spurs, but
Well, and if you are the winner, you deserve to win because you beat the teams that are in front of you. You know what I mean? Like, you can only play who's in front of you, and like, okay, you might not have been the best team in your league, you might not have been the best team in even Europe that year, but you beat the teams who beat everybody. Even the one year Real Madrid won, got smoked in our group by Bayern, like 4-1 at the Bernabeu and like 3-0 at fucking in Munich. And then we draw them in the quarterfinals and we knock them out, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, like, that's interesting, and it's things like that like we're never gonna see again, and it's kind of shitty.
yeah, it is. Well, anything else on your mind, football related?
No, not at all. I actually want to find out the score of this Real Madrid one. It popped into my head. Let's see. Um, it was I want to say it was 0-1-0-2. We beat them 2-0 and then lost 2-1 in leg one. So did we win in 0-1-0-2? That would make sense. Or was it 2001, 2001? It's one of these ones. We looks like we played them like back to back to back years. So um
Yeah, that
yeah,
starts
either way, it's really interesting. Let's just put it that way.
for sure. Well,
Could have been
well, well.
99, 2000. Yeah, I think it was 99, 2000 because they beat us 4-2 and then beat us 4-1. And then we beat them 2-0 and beat them. Then they beat us 2-1. And we advanced on aggregate 3-2 in the quarterfinals. That does make sense. Or no, it's just semifinal. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Um,
We are getting a few World Cup qualification games this week in Asia. Um, so that's a
oh,
bit interesting.
that
Um,
is interesting.
South Korea will play, Japan will play. Um, later on in the week, not a whole lot. Uh, are we gonna do an MLS podcast, or are we gonna take the weekend off?
I was gonna say we could maybe do something. We can talk off air, actually.
Fair enough.
People don't need to listen to this. Well, thank you all for listening. Go follow us on all socials. And every single time I want to say Hala Madrid Anonymous. Go follow us on TikTok, Instagram, share with some friends. Go follow us on YouTube. We post these on YouTube as well. Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can find us. Thank you for listening. Kev?
Peace.